So, author Marianne Williamson has dropped out of the 2020 race. Now, for a lot of us, we didn't know she was still running. So, she never, really since the summer, she kind of disappeared. She stopped making the debate stage. But I guess she was still in the race. She was still, holding events in various states, mainly in Iowa, I believe in New Hampshire. But she finally dropped out, realizing she has no shot. But I want to read from her statement here, because I actually think, for all the issues with Marianne Williamson, she was never really a threat to anybody. I think she raised a lot of good points, and I'm going to show you a clip from, I believe, the first debate, where she really had a fantastic answer when it came to reparations. But first, let me read from her statement here. So she said, actually, let me zoom in. She says here, "Dear friend, I ran for president to help forge another direction for our country. I want to discuss things I felt needed to be discussed that otherwise were not. I feel that we have done that. I stayed in the race to take advantage of every possible effort to share our message. With caucuses and primaries now about to begin, however, we will not be able to garner enough votes in the election to elevate our conversation any more than it is now. The primaries might be tightly contested among the top contenders, and I don't want to get in the way of a progressive candidate winning any of them. As of today, therefore, I'm suspending my campaign. My deepest gratitude to those of you who supported my candidacy for all these months. The ideas we discussed are important, and I hope that they'll find seed in other ways and in other campaigns, from rescuing underserved, at-risk, and traumatized children to proactively waging an agenda for peace and making humanity itself America's greatest ally, to integrative health models within our healthcare system, and incentivizing health, to reparations to achieve deeper reconciliation between races, to repudiating the corporate aristocracy to the creation of a more mindful politics, to changing from an economic to a lot of freaking things here, to changing from an economic to humanitarian bottom line, to initiating a season of moral repair. We brought issues to the fore that I hope contributed to the campaign season. I remain as committed to them going forward as I was on the day we began." Okay, I think that's good. So look, I thought she was fine. This is a weird, I'm just going to say, why would you use a blurry photo of yourself? Probably a better photo you could have used for this. But I think this was a good effort, let's say. I do think she brought sort of this spirituality aspect to the race that we haven't really seen, at least that I can think of, in a Democratic primary before. So I think it's important to understand that not everybody's always on the same page when it comes to thinking about policy the same way. There are definitely people that are sort of in the Marianne Williamson camp that have this view of the world that is really based in this idea of spirituality and connectedness. And people like this can, I think, bring something to the conversation. So, and I think that really was on display in her answer here in, I believe, the first debate on reparations. So watch what she says here. And her answer here still, I think, has been unmatched by anybody else on this issue in particular.
Many of your opponents support a commission to study the issue of reparations for slavery, but you are calling for up to $500 billion in financial assistance. What makes you qualified to determine how much is owed in reparations?
Well, first of all, it's not $500 billion in financial assistance. It's $500 billion, $200 to $500 billion, payment of a debt that is owed. That is what reparations is. We need some deep truth-telling when it comes. We don't need another commission to look at evidence. I appreciate what Congressman O'Rourke has said. It is time for us to simply realize that this country will not heal. All that a country is a collection of people. People heal when there's some deep truth-telling. We need to recognize that when it comes to the economic gap between blacks and whites in America, it does come from a great injustice that has never been dealt with. That great injustice has had to do with the fact that there was 250 years of slavery, followed by another 100 years of domestic terrorism. What makes me qualified to say $200 to $500 billion? I'll tell you what makes me qualified. If you did the math of the 40 acres and a mule, given that there was 4 to 5 million slaves at the end of of the Civil War. They're fortified, and they were all promised 40 acres and a mule for every family of four. If you did the math today, it would be trillions of dollars. And I believe that anything less than $100 billion is an insult. And I believe that 200 to 500 billion is politically feasible today because so many Americans realize there is an injustice that continues to form a toxicity underneath the surface, an emotional turbulence that only reparations.
Thank you very much. Senator Sanders.
So I think that's a great answer. Basically, it boils down to reparations being a debt that is owed. And she really breaks it down thoroughly there. So again, I don't think anyone else in this race has had a response that has been that coherent on this issue. So say what you will about Marianne Williamson, I do think she actually brought something to this race, even though it was always clear I think she wasn't going to win the nomination. She did clearly bring something to this conversation that I think other candidates can pull from.